The price tag is not the cost. Your time, your taxes, and the future value of your money are all bundled into that little piece of cardboard hanging off a product, but they are invisible. If you ignore this rule, inflation and opportunity cost will quietly eat half of your potential net worth before you even realize it is happening. The prevailing cultural myth about affordability is completely binary and completely flawed. We have been trained to ask a very simple question when we want to buy something. If the cash is in my checking account, or if I can cover the monthly payment, then I can afford it. Conventional wisdom tells us that liquidity is the exact same thing as affordability. If you have $5,000 in the bank and the thing costs $5,000, you are good to go. But financial media and massive retailers love this myth because it perpetuates the idea that the manufacturer suggested retail price is the final cost of a good. I am going to show you why that is a mathematical trap and how changing your perspective on a single price tag can completely alter the trajectory of your wealth. Before we pull back the curtain on how financial engineering actually works, hit the subscribe button. I view your time as an investment, and my goal with this channel is to give you the highest possible return on that investment every single time you watch. Now, we have to look at why the average American believes this binary myth of affordability. It is a combination of intentional corporate design and a historical shift away from cash. In the post-war economic boom, success became something you could visually quantify. The American dream was suddenly anchored to the accumulation of depreciating physical assets, like cars, major appliances, and suburban sprawl. Then came the credit scoring era. The advent of the FICO score in 1989 trained the entire middle class to optimize for debt capacity rather than actual net worth. People started bragging about having good credit, completely missing the irony that having a great credit score simply means you are a highly profitable servicer of debt for a bank. You are not winning the game, you are just the most reliable player for the casino. The real danger arrived with the frictionless economy. Over the last decade, innovations like Apple Pay, Amazon one-click ordering, and buy now, pay later algorithms have systematically removed the pain of paying. The pain of paying is a real psychological friction that used to keep us from going broke. When you physically handed over $100 bills, your brain registered loss. Now, by atomizing a $2,000 purchase into 4 easy payments of $500, the brain is tricked. You evaluate the affordability of the fraction, not the whole. You look at that $50 a month and think, I spend that much on coffee, I can totally swing this. You are no longer evaluating the utility of the item against its total cost. You are just evaluating whether you can squeeze one more tiny subscription into your cash flow before you drown. This is by design. The entire retail ecosystem is built to separate you from your future wealth by making the present moment as frictionless and painless as physically possible. They want you focused on the fraction, completely blind to the macro mathematics of your decision. But if you think the retail algorithms are manipulative, wait until you see what the tax code and compound interest do to that exact same purchase. Most people stop their financial analysis at the checkout counter and end up losing tens of thousands of dollars. Here is the step they miss. The conventional wisdom of affordability fails because it completely ignores 3 mathematical absolutes: the tax drag, the opportunity cost, and the total cost of ownership. To prove this, we are going to break down a hypothetical discretionary purchase in our current macroeconomic environment. We will assume sticky inflation, a conservative risk-free rate, and average historical equity returns. Let us say you are a mid-career professional earning $100,000 a year. You decide you want to buy a $5,000 luxury mountain bike. Or maybe it is a designer watch, or a vacation. The item does not matter, the math is the same. You look at your checking account, you see $10,000 sitting there, and you tell yourself you can afford it. On paper, it looks like a simple exchange. In reality, it is a financial bloodbath. To understand the bloodbath, we start with step 1, which is calculating the gross time cost, or what I call the tax drag. A salary of $100,000 assumes roughly 2,080 working hours per year. If you divide that out, your gross hourly wage is $48.07 an hour. So, for a $5,000 bike, you might think you just divide 5,000 by 48 to find out how many hours you have to work to pay for it. But that is rookie math, because purchases are not made with gross dollars. They are made with after-tax net dollars. We have to calculate the marginal tax drag for this earner. If you are in the 24% federal income tax bracket, plus the 7.65% for Social Security and Medicare, and let us add an average state tax of 5%. Your total marginal tax drag is exactly 36.65%. You never even see that money. The government takes it before the direct deposit hits your account. Always use the marginal tax rate when calculating the time cost of discretionary purchases. The last dollars you earn, which are the ones that fund your discretionary spending, are taxed at your highest bracket, making them the absolute most expensive dollars to spend. When we apply that 36.65% tax drag to your gross wage, your true net hourly wage drops from $48 to just $30.45 an hour. Now let us run the real-time cost. $5,000 divided by $30.45 equals 164.2 hours. The reality of that price tag just shifted dramatically. That $5,000 mountain bike does not cost $5,000. It costs over 4 full weeks of your finite life, sitting at your desk, dealing with your boss, answering emails, just to break even on the transaction. You are trading a month of your one and only life on Earth for a piece of recreational equipment. And we have not even gotten to the expensive part yet. Step 2 is where the math gets truly brutal. We have to factor in the opportunity cost, specifically the future value of that capital. Because of the time value of money, spending $5,000 today completely destroys the future compounded value of those dollars. Every dollar you spend is a tiny employee you are firing before they can get to work for you. We can use the rule of 72 to understand this quickly. Divide 72 by your expected return to see how fast your money doubles. Let us assume a historically conservative 7% real, inflation-adjusted return in a low-cost S&P 500 index fund. We use the 7% real return so nobody can try to argue that inflation makes future money worthless. We are already accounting for inflation. If you take that $5,000 and invest it instead of buying the bike, over a 10-year horizon, it grows to $9,835. But let us look at a standard 30-year horizon. That same $5,000, compounding at 7%, turns into $38,061. When you hand your card to the cashier, you are permanently robbing your older self of $38,000. This is exactly where conventional wisdom says to stop and focus on the monthly payment. But I am going to tell you to look at the invisible liabilities. The opportunity cost is massive, but most people stop here and lose even more money. We still have step 3, the total cost of ownership. I call this the financial iceberg. The manufacturer suggested retail price is just the tip of the iceberg, visible above the water. Beneath the surface is a massive, invisible block of cash flow liabilities. Consumer goods require maintenance, insurance, storage, and they depreciate rapidly. Let us assume a highly conservative 10% annual cost for maintenance, upgrades, and insurance on that bike. That is $500 a year. Over 5 years, your total cost of ownership adds another $2,500 to the price tag. Your total cash outflow is now $7,500. And after those 5 years, what is the residual value of the asset? The bike has depreciated and is maybe worth $1,500. Your net wealth destroyed is $6,000, completely ignoring the lost $38,000 in future returns. So here is the final brutal math summary for the checking account fallacy. To buy the $5,000 bike, you trade 164 hours of your life today, permanently forfeit over $38,000 in future retirement wealth, and commit to a depreciating asset liability that continues to leak cash flow every single year. But here is the fascinating part. Intelligent people continuously fail this math every single day. Why? Because human neurobiology is fundamentally incompatible with long-term financial optimization. We are fighting millions of years of evolution. The primary behavioral economics concept at play here is called hyperbolic discounting, or present bias. The human brain evolved to prioritize immediate survival rewards. If our ancestors found calories, they ate them immediately. They did not save them for a retirement portfolio in 30 years. Today, we place an irrationally high value on a payoff right now, which is the dopamine hit of a purchase. And we drastically discount the $38,000 we will desperately need when we are too old to work. Our brains are simply not wired to comprehend compound interest intuitively without a strict framework. The other psychological trap we fall into is called mental accounting. People categorize money completely illogically based on where it came from, rather than what it is worth. For example, if someone gets a $5,000 tax refund, they treat it as free money. It goes into a mental bucket labelled fun fund, and it gets blown on a luxury trip or a massive television without a second thought. But if that same person diligently saved $5,000 out of their regular paycheck, they would protect it fiercely. They would never just blow their hard-earned savings on a whim. In reality, all dollars are fungible. They are mathematically identical and possess the exact same opportunity cost, regardless of the source. A dollar from a tax refund has the exact same $38,000 future value potential as a dollar earned from grinding out overtime at the office. But retail marketing teams know all about mental accounting, and they design advertising campaigns specifically to target your tax refunds and your yearly bonuses, convincing you that it is play money. It is not play money, it is seed corn, and you are being tricked into eating it early. Then we have the denomination effect, which is exactly how those buy now, pay later algorithms exploit your working memory at the point of sale. By presenting a major cost as simply $138 a month, the brain immediately anchors to the small number. This bypasses the critical faculties in your prefrontal cortex that would normally reject the massive total principal and interest cost. It is a biological hack. The retailer breaks the large, painful number into tiny, digestible pieces, and suddenly your brain categorizes the luxury purchase in the same mental file as your electric bill or your weekly grocery run. This is exactly why auto loans have stretched from 36 months to 72 or even 84 months. The industry knows that if they just keep the monthly denominator small enough, you will agree to buy twice the car you actually need, effectively financing your own poverty. They are mathematically slicing up your future cash flow so thin that you do not even realize you are bleeding out. We will get to the exact protocol for fixing this brain chemistry in a minute, but first we need to address the most dangerous leak of all: the hidden penalty of hedonic adaptation. This is the invisible risk everyone ignores, and it is why buying things never actually fixes your underlying stress. The mathematical opportunity cost of a purchase compounds infinitely, but the utility, the actual happiness and satisfaction you get from a physical purchase, decays rapidly. This is the treadmill trap. You buy the $5,000 item. You get a massive dopamine spike on day one. You feel successful, you feel excited, and your status feels elevated. But by day 90, the item is completely normalized into your baseline existence. The happiness has decayed to near zero. It is just a piece of metal sitting in your garage. But the $38,000 of lost future value is gone forever. You traded a permanent financial penalty for a temporary chemical illusion in your brain. Once you recognize that the joy of consumption has a viciously short half-life, you stop trading your permanent wealth for temporary feelings. To combat these neurobiological biases, wealth optimizers have to replace emotion with a rigid, algorithmic framework. You cannot trust your gut at the checkout counter because your gut just wants cheap dopamine. This is why I developed the 24-hour cost test protocol. Step 1 of this protocol is calculating your true net hourly rate, and you must do this annually. You cannot do the complex math while staring at a price tag under fluorescent store lights. It has to be pre-calculated and memorized. The formula is your gross salary minus total taxes divided by your total work hours plus your commute and prep hours. Do not forget the commute. Including your drive time and the unpaid hours you spend getting ready for work often drops your perceived hourly rate by another 10 to 15%. This makes the math even more brutal, but it makes it highly accurate. Once you have this single number locked in your head, you have your baseline for every financial decision you make for the rest of the calendar year. Now, knowing your true net hourly rate is one thing, but tracking these decisions consistently across your whole life is where most people fall off the wagon. That is exactly why we built Cash Class, the official Tom Talks Money web app. Cash Class is the bridge between learning this brutal math and actually executing it in your daily life. I wanted a platform that genuinely respects your privacy, which is why there are absolutely no bank logins required. You just securely upload your CSV statements, and the web app helps you filter your discretionary spending through the exact frameworks we talk about on this channel. It runs all the brutal math for you. Plus, every new account gets access to our full Budgeting 101 course entirely for free. If you are serious about optimizing your wealth, click the link at the very top of the description to start your 14-day free trial on the web. It is the absolute best tool available to keep your prefrontal cortex in charge of your money rather than your emotions. Step 2 of the protocol is the 24-hour mandatory quarantine. The rule is incredibly simple but highly effective. Any discretionary purchase over $100 requires a strict, mandatory 24-hour waiting period. No exceptions, no excuses. The logic here is purely biological. This forced pause drags your brain out of the limbic system, where emotion and impulse live, and forces it back into the prefrontal cortex, where logic and math operate. It allows the artificial scarcity or the fake urgency of retail marketing to decay and evaporate entirely. Step 3 happens during those 24 hours. You run the item through our repeatable framework. First, identify the true manufacturer-suggested retail price. Second, calculate the time cost. Divide the price by your true net hourly rate. Ask yourself, am I willing to give up an entire week of my life at the office for this? Third, apply the 10x future value rule. This is a simple heuristic rule of thumb for a 30-year 7% compounding horizon. Multiply the price by 10. If the item is $1,000, it is costing you $10,000. Ask yourself, am I willing to rob my older self of $10,000 for this item today? The final part of the framework during your 24-hour quarantine is evaluating the utility decay ratio, or simply the cost per use. You have to be ruthlessly realistic about how often you will actually use the item over a 1-year period. The law of diminishing marginal utility applies to absolutely everything. The first slice of pizza is amazing, but the 5th slice makes you sick. Moving from a $1,000 beta car to a $10,000 reliable car yields massive utility. But moving from a $40,000 car to an $80,000 car yields almost zero measurable improvement in transportation utility, yet it carries double the opportunity cost. Let us run the cost per use math. If you buy a $1,000 designer jacket and realistically wear it 10 times, your cost per use is an absurd $100 per outing. If you buy a $1,000 high-quality mattress and sleep on it 365 times, your cost per use is $2.73. You must calculate the cost per use to understand the true value and efficiency of the transaction. I want you to think of your money simply as a physical storage mechanism for your life energy. When you go to work, you are draining your biological battery and storing that energy in the form of cash. When you look at a price tag, do not look at the dollar sign. Look at how much of your life battery you have to permanently deplete to acquire it. It all comes back to the seed corn analogy for opportunity cost. Every dollar you earn is a handful of seed corn. You have two choices. You can eat it today through consumer spending, and you will be fed for exactly one day. Or you can plant it through investing, and it will grow into a massive stalk that yields 100 times more corn next season. When you buy luxury junk that depreciates the second you take it out of the box, you are literally eating your own seeds. You are choosing a brief moment of flavor over a lifetime of absolute food security. Once you internalize that your life energy is finite, spending it on depreciating liabilities starts to feel incredibly painful, which is exactly how it should feel. Before we get to the final execution step, if this analytical, no-hype approach to wealth building resonates with you, click the Join button down below to become one of the optimizers. Channel members get priority replies to all their comments, plus custom sketch badges that upgrade the longer you are part of the crew. It is a great way to support the channel so we can keep diving deep into the math together. Now, step 4 of the protocol is the binary decision. After your 24-hour quarantine, if the item passes the time cost test, passes the 10x future value test, and has a highly efficient cost per use, you execute the purchase with zero guilt. You buy it and enjoy it, because you have done the math and validated the utility. But if it fails any of those tests, you do not just leave the cash sitting lazily in your checking account. You deploy that capital into an index fund immediately, capturing the dopamine of true wealth accumulation. You reward your brain for making the smart choice by physically watching your net worth go up in real time. You have to rewire your brain to get a bigger chemical reward from buying assets than you do from buying liabilities. When you transfer that failed purchase money into your brokerage account, you are paying yourself the $38,000 instead of handing it over to a retail corporation. That is the exact moment you step off the hedonic treadmill and start actually building wealth. You stop letting the manufacturer-suggested retail price dictate your future, and you start valuing your own life energy appropriately. I want to turn this over to peer review in the comments below. Let me know the last time you ran a cost test on a purchase and what the math convinced you to do. Did you buy it, or did you invest the cash instead? Share your data points down there, because reading through your real-world examples is the absolute best way for the entire community to learn. Stay rational, run the numbers, and I will see you in the next one.